Okay, well, let's get started if everyone is ready. Hello, everyone. My name is David Marks of Weiskopf Consulting. On the call with me today is Virginia Weiskopf, CEO of Weiskopf Consulting.
Good morning, everyone.
Thank you, Virginia. If you have questions, please put them in the chat. And periodically throughout the presentation, we'll be stopping to answer questions as we go along. So let's get started. So today's presentation is other forms of social media. Is it right for your business? But before we begin, let's take a little poll. If you wouldn't mind answering this question. So essentially it's asking, which social media platform does your business use most besides Facebook? So there's plenty of options: Instagram, LinkedIn, Medium, Pinterest, Snapchat, TikTok, Twitter, YouTube, none of the above. And if you don't, that's okay. It's not too surprising if you don't, because a lot of businesses just focus on Facebook. Okay. Got a fair amount for Twitter, a couple for YouTube, LinkedIn about the same as Twitter. So that looks pretty good to me. Okay, so essentially what we're going to be talking about today is other forms of social media and how it relates to your business, and should you invest in your business? Should you invest in it in your business? But first, what do we mean by other forms of social media? When I think of anything but social and anything other forms of social media, I think of Facebook, anything but Facebook. So when it comes to social media, Facebook is and continues to be the king and emperor and czar and really any other word for a form of majesty. If you want your business to be on social media, it is almost always recommended that a business start with Facebook. But what about all these different things? From LinkedIn to Instagram to Pinterest, there are a lot of social media platforms that you could be using. However, unless you have unlimited hours and money to invest in the platforms, your business will need to pick which platforms, if any, will serve your needs the most. How should you go about doing it? And if you're not sure what Medium is, it's essentially a blogging platform. TikTok, I'm sure you've heard of it in the news. The little ghost is Snapchat, P is Pinterest. In the middle, we have Instagram, to the left, YouTube. Above that, LinkedIn, and way at the bottom is Twitter. So before you really delve into any sort of social media platform, it's important to ask yourself a couple of questions. And this can be you, this could be a business admin team, but there's three kind of questions that I focus in on before I tell a certain organization if they should proceed with investing in a social media platform. And they are the customers, supporters, / fans of your business on this given social media platform? What are my business's goals of utilizing social media? Do these goals align with my business's overall objectives and goals? These questions will help your organization ascertain the importance of different social media platforms. It will also prevent wasted time, energy, and resources on platforms that wouldn't produce any meaningful results. So let's take look a little more into each question and how it pertains to different social media ecosystems. First question, are the customers / supporters / fans of your business on this given social media platform? This step takes a little bit of research and a little time, but if done correctly, it will help guide your decision on whether to be a part of different platforms. So one of the best things you can do when starting this process is determine who your current clients are and who your ideal client is. And you might be asking, how do I go about that? Facebook offers, if you're on Facebook, Facebook offers an Insights tab, which shows you your audience's demographics. I'm not going to get into that today because, as the presentation title says, this is other forms of social media. And these can be found in the Insights tab on your Facebook business page. But these insights can be used to guide your thought process on who your business is targeting and who it should be targeting. Age, gender, location, and such can all be used to give your business a great idea on who your ideal client is. You can also use CRMs, which are customer relationship management software. If you have a CRM such as Salesforce, they usually provide basic data on who you've been reaching out to and who your customers are. Once you have an idea of what your ideal customer is, this information can be used to guide your next decision on which platform, if any, to pursue. There's way too much resource and data out there that shows the demographics of each platform, but some generalizations include Instagram tends to skew younger, meaning that the younger generations, 18 to about 35, are more likely to use Instagram than older generations. Pinterest has a majority of female users. I think it's the last I checked, it was 70% of people who are on Pinterest are female, and 30% are male. People who travel, which is, I found this to be pretty interesting, people who travel are 2 times more likely to use Pinterest. So if your organization focuses in on traveling, for example, you might want to consider being on Pinterest. LinkedIn obviously is geared more towards business to business marketing than business to consumer. And Snapchat is dominated by 15 to 25-year-olds. As I mentioned, there is a bunch of data out there. I can't get into different configurations on each industry. And to give you an example of what I mean on the next slide, this is just a brief sort of example of what, if you're in a certain industry, what platforms you should consider. But there are plenty of outliers and other reasons to consider basically which platforms to be on. It really depends on what your business is going for and what your goals are. So this is just a sample of what platforms work for what industries. But a lot of it depends on your content strategy as well as your target demographics. This is where research, planning, and defining goals come in handy. Virginia, are there any questions up to now?
We have no questions as of yet.
Wow, this is shocking. Okay, so let's move along then. Question 2. What are my business's goals of utilizing social media? Basically, what would we like to get out of investing time, energy, and resources into a new social media platform? One question to ask yourself is, has your business defined what it would like to get out of social media, or are you just posting just to post? And I see this a lot in some of the businesses, organizations that I work with. They're on Facebook, they're on Twitter, they're on Instagram, but they really don't know why they should be doing it or what they want to get out of it. So in other words, are you on social media because you see competitors on it and don't want to be left behind? Answering this question will really help you to see whether social media and new platforms are even worth your time and resources. Examples of business social media goals include general awareness and engagement, quote unquote, I've heard of this organization. Also, our business wants to create a more engaging form of communication with our clientele. Consideration, think what increasing website visits, and also increasing conversions. Some platforms perform better than others. For example, when you want to convince people to buy, donate, or register for a newsletter, to example, or basically whatever you would like them to do to convert them to become a customer. Do these goals for a new social media platform align with my business's overall objective and goals? Social media offers a ton of benefits and opportunities for businesses, increasing engagement, awareness, interaction, website traffic, donations, sales, and conversions, to name a few. But certain businesses might not benefit from investing in certain social platforms. Now we're going to play everyone's favorite game, although I don't think it's anyone's favorite game. I just made it up. Does this make sense? But hopefully this illustrates the importance of choosing appropriate social media platforms for your organization. Question 1. There's a local nonprofit whose mission involves a heavy focus on the human touch. They operate with donations from consumers only or donors only with very little corporate support. Does it make sense to be devoting a majority of its time to LinkedIn if the goal is to reach consumers or donors? I'm pretty sure we know the answer to that question. That would be probably not. While there may be some benefit for the nonprofit to be on LinkedIn, including future potential corporate sponsorship, it really isn't the main platform that the nonprofit should devote time and resources to. The ROI, or return on investment, would probably not be that great. Question 2 of everyone's favorite game. A medium-sized organization who sells shoes to under 30 people wants to take the next step and become a big-time player in the world of shoe companies. They're looking to increase website traffic as well as shoe sales. Does it make sense for the business to set up an Instagram account as well as an Instagram shop? Again, I won't waste your time on this one, but I think we all can agree, probably yes. Due to their target customer base and ideal customer, it would probably make sense for the organization to set up an Instagram account and create an Instagram shop. That would be based on the fact that a lot of people who use Instagram tend to be 35 and under. But these are just generalized examples to kind of give you an idea of how you will want to decide on whether your organization should pursue other forms of social media. Any questions at this point, Virginia?
No, there are no questions at this time, but I think that I would like you to talk about the trackable call to action at some point.
Okay, so when you are defining your goals, and that's kind of what I mean by conversions, before you start the process of really deciding on whether you want to invest in a platform, you have to take baseline analytics of where you currently are with sales, with donations, whatever sort of conversion or stat you like to track. Take baseline at the beginning and then measure it over time. So one of the ways you can do this, Facebook offers plenty of resources on this, is by including a Facebook pixel in your website, which is kind of advanced for this topic. We won't get into that too much, but essentially it allows you to track where sales and conversions are coming from on your website if it's coming through Facebook. Google Analytics also offers some goal conversions that you can set up on your website. They make it pretty simple to set up. Sometimes a little coding is involved, but in general, it's pretty simple to do to track conversions when someone goes from, let's say, one landing page, they buy something, then they go to another landing page. For example, that would be a goal completed.
Thanks.
Yep, no problem. Okay. So a really quick presentation today because I thought there might have been more questions. But I like to end my presentation with action steps, or what you might want to consider doing following this presentation. The first step, and probably the most important, is do your research. This includes an analysis of current social media platforms, demographics of who interacts with your organization's current forms of social media, who your ideal customer is, what your company's goals are for social media, etc. More than likely, you will need to interview several members of your organization's team to get a feel for what they are looking for out of social media. Not gonna lie, if done properly, this will absolutely take some time. But the more intensive this step is done, the better your outcomes will probably be. So interviewing key admin members of your business, kind of getting a feel of who's on social media, which customers of yours are on social media, on which platforms. Doing your research is probably the best and the most important step in this whole process. The second step is to set up the new social media platforms that your organization has decided to invest in. It is recommended to take some baseline analytics of how your company is performing in certain metrics, such as followers, reach, sales, donations, web traffic, for example, prior to instituting the new platforms, during your use of the new platforms, and reviewing the metrics every month or so. It's not a great idea to just start posting things and not really understand kind of if you're succeeding or not, because then you might be wasting energy, time, and resources. If, for example, you want to see an increase of website traffic to your website, but you aren't really quantifying it. And if you aren't quantifying it, then you don't know for sure if you are actually increasing and reaching your goals. This will help you decide if your organization should continue using the platforms. Is your business getting more out of the social media platforms than you are putting in? Time, energy, resources, etc. By taking the time to define your goals and constantly assess and reassess, you will be able to decipher whether you should continue down this social media platform path you are on. And I've seen it a bunch of times when companies, again, just start posting things, and every new social media platform they have to be on. But really, that could negatively affect your ROI or return on investment, because you'll be spending more resources to just post things and interact with people, and you're not getting a lot out of it. So really be cognizant of the fact that you want to get something out of social media, and know what those goals are from the beginning so you can track them and then assess and reassess. And that would be all for now. Are there any questions?
I'll speak for a minute while people put their questions in. I think it's very important because you all may have joined a social media platform because it was the rage to do, and I'll use Twitter as my example. And you post once a week. That doesn't do you any good at all. So you need to look at each of the social medias that you're on and develop a criteria and a checklist and decide if you need to be there. And if you shouldn't, you need to get off that one. You should put your energy into those social media platforms where you're, as David has said, your ideal client is, your ideal customer is, your ideal fan is, so that that's who you're talking to.
Absolutely. Yep. Sorry.
No.
Absolutely. You don't want to waste time. I mean, time is money, and you really need to focus in on what's giving you the best return on investment, honestly.
Right. And everyone's thinking, okay, now that we're in this lockdown, we need to be on social media. But that's not a reason to jump on all the channels. You really need to have a plan, and you need to feel comfortable that you can achieve that plan. Again, David talked about knowing your ideal customer, having a goal for that channel, being able to quantify that goal by taking before analytics and after analytics, and then having a plan for what you're going to do each day. It is a lot of work, and it's exhausting. It's marketing, it's advertising. It's not just posting. You know, we've come from the place where people went viral in an instant, where everything was free, where now the platforms have us all on them, and anything you want to do is pay for play. So you need to keep that in mind. You have to have content on your channels, but you also have to market on those channels.
Absolutely. As we've seen over the past decade, Facebook, which who knew, Facebook is actually pretty smart. They got us hooked with the organic reach, and by organic, I mean not paid for posts. So early on in 2011, 2012, people were posting and things would just take off like wildfire. Over the past 10 years, they've reduced that by hundreds of percentage points, and essentially what's happening is they're forcing you to pay to make any difference on social media. So if you want to invest in advertisements and you want to invest in social media, you really need to understand kind of what you want to get out of it first.
Yeah, and you don't think investing means hundreds of thousands of dollars. Investing means you have a budget, and this is your budget, and this is what to expect from that budget. And if what you get from that budget is expected, you get some movement, maybe you want to put a little more money on it. Or if you don't get any movement, maybe that's not where your money should be spent. It's testing, A/B testing, and doing a lot of things to push through your advertising agenda.
100% agree.
So we have a question from Ruth.
Sure.
What is the most effective way to build an audience or followers on a new social media platform?
So one of the things that I usually recommend after you get kind of you're settled into the new platform, post on a regular basis. That's essential. I would say it depends on the platform. There's different metrics for different platforms saying how often you should post. But more important than posting in my mind is engaging with the person. So let's say you post something every day on Facebook and you're super excited about it, but you don't like any, or Instagram, for example, you don't like any comments. You don't offer any comments of your own on their comments. People message your page but then you don't respond. You really want to look at social media as kind of a community, building your customer base around your business's goals. And once you see that and you see the interaction actually plays a bigger role than actually just posting, you will have a better chance of reaching your goals for social media and increasing increasing people's cognizance of your brand.
I have an analogy.
Sure.
It's that friend. Remember when we used to be able to go out to lunch? That friend that calls you once a week and asks you to meet for lunch, keeps calling, but you never have time to return the call, or you never get back to her. And then all of a sudden she stops calling because you have given her no inclination that you still want to be friends and you still want to go out to lunch. Doesn't mean you're going to do it that week, but you have to respond to them. You have to give them some encouragement. Mm-hmm. You have to engage.
Yep. I completely agree.
And I would say make a chart of the social media platforms. Check out your competitors and see where they are on them. That's also a quantifier of whether you should be there or not. And how are they doing it? What are they doing well? What are they doing really poor? You go to a competitor, they have one post. It's from last year. Not doing a good job. Yeah. So you have to decide how you're doing it and put content out that they want to see. You know, give some free advice away. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. Show them that you can do what you say you can do.
I absolutely agree with that. You want to put stuff out there that people will actually be inclined to interact with. Posting once with some statistic that nobody understands is not going to get people to follow and engage with your brand. You really need to make your content exciting and appropriate for the different platforms.
Even silly sometimes within parameters, right?
Oh, yeah. Humor goes a great way. And it doesn't have to be all the time, but humor is a great way to show your audience that you're capable of being human, and people like that side of businesses.
That's why memes have gone so far. It's because it makes us smile, and we don't get to smile enough right now because we're all stuck at home. Yep. So keep that in mind. If you have someone who's really good at that stuff, or is, you know, can create a meme for you that you can use, that's great. Of course, you have to be cognizant of what that meme is and find the middle of the road. No religion, no politics.
Yeah.
And be prepared if you do that to get different comments coming back and handle them. You can't ignore them. You need to deal with and respond.
Yep. I would agree with that. Any other questions?
Nope, there are no other questions. Everyone's kind of quiet this morning for, you know, I can't believe it's October 2nd.
It's not. Time flies when you're having fun.
Or when you're not.
Not having fun. That is correct.
Not that I'm not having fun. I just would like to be with people again.
Do something. Absolutely.
Yeah. So we really appreciate everyone coming this morning. If you have other questions, please email us. You can find our other education events. We do this every Friday morning. Some are longer, some are shorter, just to give you some ideas of what's going on in our world. And we always post the previous ones on our YouTube channel for you to find and follow up or look for something that we went by too quickly for you. Oh, Janet says, thank you. These are great tips and reminders. You're welcome, Janet. We appreciate you coming. We appreciate being able to share with you. And again, always are welcome for questions via email.
Thank you all.
Have a great day.
Take care.